it's Jessica with Southern Sparrow, and today we are making possibly our most controversial Mahjong video to date. So in American Mahjong, the most controversial thing on any instructor's mind, any student or longtime player's mind is, do you play with blanks or not? So let's talk about that today. We're gonna teach you how to play with blanks. We're gonna talk about why you even have blanks in your set of tiles, and we're gonna talk about why it's controversial in the Mahjong community. So, why do you have blanks in your set of Mahjong tiles? We're talking about these ones, guys. On the back, it's the same as the back of the tile, but the front is blank. That's why they're called blanks. So historically, you would get some blanks. There's 6 in your set from Southern Sparrow. That's pretty common. You'll get 6 blanks. And historically, the reason that you got blanks in your set of tiles was because if you ever lost a tile in your set, you could go ahead and just write on this blank tile 9 bam, and you know that that replaces your missing 9 bam. Now, at Southern Sparrow, we will replace your lost tiles for free. That just feels like the right thing to do for our customers. So if you ever lose one of our tiles, we will just replace it for you. So you don't really need your blanks for their intended purpose from, long ago. So why do we still include blanks? So over the past 10 years or so, especially in the South, especially in Texas where we are from, playing with blanks has become more and more and more common. And we'll talk about how exactly to play with blanks, but it is the most common house rule that I encounter. Now, I am in the South, so if you're in the Northeast, you may be asking yourself, like, what the heck is she even talking about? No one here plays with blanks, and that is maybe true. But this new surge of Mahjong has obviously brought a lot of new people to the game, and it did start this surge in Mahjong in the South this time. And as that is migrating its way to other places in the US, I want to make sure that all of you are familiar with how this house rule works. So if you choose to play with blanks, it is not in line with the National Mahjong League rules. Now remember, the National Mahjong League is the governing body for American Mahjong. They are the ones who set the standard rules. They are the ones who set the standard hands, the hands that are in our cards that get released every April. So if you are following National Mahjong League rules, as most of us are, you will never play with blanks. And you should absolutely learn how to play without blanks so that then any group you join who is most likely playing by the National Mahjong League rules, you can feel comfortable and confident in your gameplay. Now, I also want you to be confident and comfortable if you sit down with a group you've never played with before who does have this house rule. So that's why I'm making this video, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of angry comments about this video, but I'm fine with it. I think it's important to know how to play by the rules and to know how to play by the most common house rules that you're going to encounter as you go out into the world and play this game that we all love so much. So, okay, if you're going to play with blanks, you're going to keep in the 6 extra tiles that came with your set. And I will say that most people who play with blanks also keep in those 2 extra jokers. So your set of tiles from us will ship with 10 jokers. National Mahjong League rules include 8, and we'll ship with 6 blanks. So if you're playing National Mahjong League rules, you're gonna pull out 2 jokers. Oops, 2 jokers. They look like this in this set. You'll pull out 2 jokers and you'll pull out all 6 blanks if you're playing National Mahjong League rules. If you're not playing National Mahjong League rules, I have a game set up here that's in the middle of gameplay. So we would have dealt tiles or picked tiles from this wall and then curtsied out these walls here, discarding here in the center, and we're now to the tail end of this wall here, which is kind of a great time to start playing with your blanks if you do them. So how do you use blanks? Are blanks like another joker? No. Blanks are played not as a wild card. Like, you could never go up on top of your rack and say, okay, gosh, I have a terrible hand over here, but say, okay, I'm trying to make a pung, 3 of a kind. I'm trying to make 3 of a kind of this 7 dot, and I have a joker and I have a blank. You can't do that. So you can never play up with your blanks on top of your rack. You can never win Mahjong by exposing a blank. So if you're playing with blanks, they are not used as a joker. Instead, they're used as a recovery tool. You're using these to recover a dead tile. Maybe it's a tile that someone discarded early in the game and you just simply didn't have the tiles needed to expose it. So if I were making this pung of 7 dots and someone had discarded a 7 dot and I only had one and I didn't have that joker, I obviously wouldn't have been able to call for that 7 dot in the early part of the game because I wouldn't have been able to expose it on my rack. Remember, if you call for a tile, you must then expose that section of your hand, meaning in this case, it would be 3 tiles of that 7 dot, either with jokers or with the tiles. You would need to expose that. And if you don't have what you need to expose it, you can't call the tile. So that tile would have then been dead. I wasn't able to call it. I could then use my blank to place it out there and take the discarded 7 dot and have that, and I would just put it in my rack. If you're using a blank, there's a couple of things to remember. You don't have to do it on your turn. You may do it at any time, and you may do it sneakily. So most people, let's say we're using it for this 7 dot recovery, most people would wait until everybody's kind of looking at their own rack or thinking or they're chatting, and you're just gonna kind of come out here like that. You're gonna try to be as sneaky with it as possible because you don't want to let other players know what it is that you're picking up with that blank, because then it's just forecasting what hand you're trying to build, especially if you already have exposures. So that would be one example. If I'm trying to create a pung or a kong or a quint and I missed a discard earlier in the game. Maybe I pivoted hands and now I realize, oh shoot, that tile that went out, I need it for my pivot line. I'm gonna use a blank to recover it. Another instance would be this one here. So my hand, in this instance, calls for a pair of flowers. Now, as you know, in American Mahjong, you cannot call to complete a single or a pair unless it's your last tile to Mahjong. And you can never pick up that pair if someone discards it, right? Unless it's your last tile to Mahjong. You also can't use a joker in that pair. So if I need a pair of flowers and someone discards it, but it's not my last tile to Mahjong, and I definitely need to make that pair, I'm going to sneakily throw my blank and pick up that flower tile, and I'm gonna put it in my rack. I now have completed my pair using that blank, completed my pair of flowers, so that section of my hand is ready to Mahjong. So that's how you use them. You're using them surreptitiously, secretively, to grab a tile that has already been discarded and to rescue it and put it into your rack. You don't say, I'm using my blank now. You don't say, I'm gonna use my blank to get this south wind. You do it super secretively. You're recovering a dead tile and you're not gonna tell anyone, and you don't have to show it, and you don't have to do it on your turn. So it's just an extra way to add some additional flexibility. I do like to play with blanks. I know that this is a controversial topic like we mentioned, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of comments down below that say like, how dare you teach people how to play with blanks, blah, blah, blah. There are certainly sticklers out there who want people to only ever play by the rules that are set forth by the National Mahjong League. And let me be clear, I certainly think you should learn those rules, but this is the most common house rule that I've seen. And if you're playing in the South, especially if you're playing in Texas, you're going to encounter this with your groups, so you should know how they're used. And I like to play with them. Let me tell you why. Here's why I like to play with blanks. I like to chit chat with my girlfriends. Most of the reason that I play Mahjong and got into Mahjong and have turned it into my whole life is that Mahjong has fundamentally changed my female friendships. So there's only so many dinners out that you can put on the calendar with your best girlfriends in these busy lives that we have. We have work, we have houses, we have husbands, we have children, we have just general busyness. I know all of us do. And so it's hard to carve out time with your girlfriends, especially if it means that you're having to get dressed up, hire a babysitter, go out to dinner, pay a bunch of money for a fancy dinner or cocktails out or whatever. The thing I love about Mahjong and the reason it's changed my friendships so much is We can have it in our house. It can be very casual. We've done it in the carpool line, play a couple of hands if we're there early. We've done it sitting by the pool while our kids swim in the summertime. We've played Mahjong at the park. You can bring it everywhere with you. You can play with your friends. You can set aside little, tiny segments of time with your girlfriends in a way that you couldn't before we picked up this game. And because of that, I am very chatty when I play Mahjong. Yes, we're very serious. Yes, we all want to win, but we're also carving out this time to be social together. And so sometimes we miss a discard. Sometimes we're not exactly paying attention to every single tile that goes out. And so it's nice to have these little blank tiles to be able to recall something. Another thing is, especially in the evening time, if we're playing Mahjong, we like to have a cocktail or two. We like to cheers that bird bam when it comes out, and we take that part very seriously. So again, these blanks are just helpful. If you miss a discard, if you maybe have to pivot your hand, it's just an extra little way to make the game a little bit more social and a little bit more fun. And I get it, it might not be for everybody, it might not be for your group, and that's fine. Keep playing the way that you're playing, but my perspective is it's your house, it's your game. You should play the way that you most enjoy with your friends. So if blanks are part of that, I think it's great. And if you've never experienced blanks and you're maybe going to a new group, this is a great time to learn how to play that because it is such a common house rule that you're bound to encounter it eventually. So nice to know how exactly to use those blank tiles. Thanks so much for watching. Drop any questions or comments down below, and happy Mahjong, y'all.